You need to give yourself more credit because whether you realize it or not, you are doing great and you are doing a lot better than you probably assume that you're doing. Hello, and welcome to Valerie's Garden with me, Valerie. If you are in a place in your life where you're like, man, I could be doing more, I feel like I haven't done enough, am I productive? And you're kind of spiraling about where you should be and your journey. Maybe you're comparing to others. Maybe you're just comparing to what you believe your potential to be, what you believe your potential to be. And you feel like you could or should be there. Well, guess what? You might not be there right now, but it doesn't mean that you won't be. And it also doesn't mean that there hasn't been a lot of growth in your life in other ways. So I wanted to create this episode today because it is so important for us to pause and reflect and acknowledge what we have done, what we've achieved, how we've grown internally. There are so many ways in which growth can be seen. Sometimes it's loud, sometimes it's more quiet. But no matter what, each day that you do a little bit of actioning towards your goals, or even if you need a rest day, whatever it is, you are spiraling up. So let's talk about it. I recently joined another mentorship program with the incredible Shriyanka. And in this mentorship, we are meeting twice a week. We're doing writing workshops. We're sharing just what's alive in us. And it'll be week 3 now. But one of the girls in the call, she was sharing how she is so good at taking action. And sometimes it's harder for her to be present with herself and reflect. And when she said this, there was a little when something feels true or you hear a phrase or a comment and it stands out to you because it resonates with you and it resonates with how you are. Yes, well, this happened and she was speaking this and I was paying attention, but it made me listen a little bit deeper. And I was just like, whoa, I've realized that this past year, ever since returning home from Australia, I've been so good at carrying out and executing my ideas. I'm so great at taking action. And I think in my throughout my life, I have one of my strongest points is taking action. And I love that about myself because, I feel like that's a very important piece of the puzzle in life. You take action, you see what happens. Sometimes things work out, sometimes things don't, but you learn from the experience and you learn what you like about those experiences or whatever. But I noticed that even though I take action, if there isn't a reflection component, it's hard to see it's challenging to recognize how far you've come. And I've noticed for myself personally that I don't ever give myself so much credit because I'm just constantly go, go, go. And I'm not here like, wow, I actually did that thing that I wanted to do. And you know what? I also did that other thing that I wanted to do. And because of this, when she said that, I just knew what I needed to do. I needed to take some time to sit down with myself and reflect because I was feeling a bit itchy, have I really achieved anything this year? Have I achieved, I'm not where I want to be with my finances yet. I'm not where I want to be. I want to say setbacks happen. So with me, I got a running injury and I'm still recovering. And I'm just accepting now that my race that I wanted to do, it might not happen. But I think just seeing these little perceived setbacks and not giving myself credit for what I have done, without the reflection, I was blind to seeing my growth. Does that make sense? So I knew what I needed to do. And it was just to take some time to be present with myself and journal and write. And so that is exactly what I did. And that is exactly what I recommend for you to do as well. So I sat with myself. I put on some nice, gentle music. Whenever I sit down to journal, I either prefer to listen to music without any words or no music at all. This time, it kind of sets the tone and it sets the mood. And Sometimes the music that I listen to, I feel like it allows me to relax a bit more and lean into my heart space so that I can see things from a lens of, well, not my egoic mind, having so much judgment, but more from this lens of peace and love, if that makes sense. Something where it's like, oh, I really can see you and I'm not going to be harsh. I'm going to really see you and see you as in, I see you, Val. I see you. I'm seeing you. And so I sat with myself, and I actually have my journal here because I wanted to share a bit. I don't necessarily want to go through the list that I created of all of the things that I feel gratitude for and the things that I feel I have achieved and how I've grown. But essentially, I did sit down with myself, and that is the list that I created. And let me just pull it up. So I first started with a bit more of a journal entry where I just got all of my feelings and poured my heart out and just took out any, I want to say, of the gunk from my mind, right? And then I went into writing a list. But I want to share a little bit of what I wrote in the journal entry. And it does have a lot to do with patience. And this was on August 12th. Sometimes I want the end product of things now. Sometimes I am hard on myself because I feel I never see things through. Or the completion of things. Yet, shouldn't I fall more in love with the process and the journey? And yet, sometimes I feel we need these graduations, endings, finish lines, etc., to develop a healthy ego, to gain confidence and a strong sense of self, and knowing that I can follow through and do what I say I'm going to do. I think that's another thing that I was feeling. It wasn't necessarily like, oh, I'm not where I want to be, but more so of like, do I ever complete anything? Do I know how to finish things? Like, why do I seem like I leave things with a ... if that makes sense? I'm remembering now that I'm reading it back. And yet, maybe I don't need to lean on such big moves, leaps, and finish lines to develop this ... Maybe it really does need to be the small things to develop a foundation and gain momentum. I also think, wow, life is beautiful and it really isn't going backwards. As in, I'm not getting any younger, so let me just be kind to myself, So let's be gentle and kind and encouraging to me now. I want to create a list of things that I have achieved since moving home from Australia, because sometimes I don't give myself credit. What have I done so far that I am proud of? And then I write my list. And in this list, I wanted to just include not just like achievements and things externally, because I feel like there were still some things that I did that didn't feel so fulfilling. So in this list, I wanted to include the things that I felt grateful for, the things that I felt fulfilled by, and things that I was scared to do and then did them anyway, because I did quite a few things like that. I really put myself out there. I have been putting myself out there. Now that I say that too, I just thought of something else I can add to my list. But essentially, I came up with 21 really beautiful things, and a lot of them had to do with, I think the things that I was the most proud of were the things that I was scared to do. And without going into detail and without reading each specific point, a lot of the things on my list had to do with running, with my run club, with my finances. So even though I'm not where I want to be financially in the way of like, I'm making this much amount of money, I did clear nearly all of my debt, and I have the ability to clear my debt right now. But for me, that was the goal I was working on, I think, since 2024. And I needed to just sit down and be with myself and recognize like, wait, you actually cleared it. You made it happen. And that feels good and it feels freeing. I wrote about completing my first marathon, completing a Spartan trifecta, which I had no intentions of doing in the past year. I spoke about creating this podcast and being fairly consistent with it too. I spoke about creating my women's group, Kula, and how I felt a little awkward at those events. I'm not going to lie, but I still did it. And I'm proud of myself for being the kind of like messy, not perfect, but I'm doing the thing. I spoke about how my design skills improved and how I got to kind of see that that is another area of interest for me. Design, potentially learning Photoshop too. It was just a new door that I didn't really expect to pique my interest, and it did. I wrote about learning tricks on my hula hoop and just honestly being present with that. And something that I included on my list, which I think these ones are maybe the most special to me because it's not like, oh, I achieved this or I learned that or I placed first or second at this race or third at this race. But my relationships and how strong they grew with my brother, with my partner, with my sister, with just having this new beautiful community. And so I was like, you know what? Oh my gosh, like this is actually kind of a lot. But had I not sit down and taken the time to see these things, I think it would have just gone right past me. And I think that's the thing. When you're a big action taker, make sure to spend some time to recognize that you did take action on these things. Take some time to be proud of yourself. Take some time to just reflect and be like, you know what? You're doing pretty freaking great because you are. And so while not only is it important to reflect, but to remember to bring gratitude into this equation. Because without it, it's easy. It's so easy to miss these blessings. It's easy to miss the small things, the small moments of growth. And even if you didn't put anything out there into the world externally, there's so many ways that growth happens within you. Maybe it's setting a boundary and saying no when you typically always say yes. Maybe it's reaching for a handful of grapes instead of the cookies or ice cream that you wanted. That's me. Maybe it's just sitting down and taking the time to, let's say, upload all of those photos from your phone onto a hard drive so that you finally have space to take another photo on your phone. You know what I mean? Growth doesn't need to be so loud for it to be happening. Think about the seasons. Think about nature. Think about the way a flower grows. It doesn't need to happen overnight. And I feel like for myself personally, because I always do like to do a big leap, a big jump, I'm putting this out there, putting that out there. Just like I wrote in my reflection, it really is the small actions. And that piece of advice isn't new, but it is important to bring ourselves back to. It's important to remember. And it is important to be aware of this when you do have the opportunity to make a choice and you feel like, oh, if I just give in this one time, it's not going to really make a difference. It's not going to really matter. But then in the long run, when you're looking back at things, like those are the things that matter. Even with this podcast, the goal is to create at least one episode a week. Sometimes during the week, it's like, oh man, I need to make sure I get to my podcast. I need to do X, Y, and Z for it. But now when I take time to look back, I'm like, whoa, I have 20 episodes because I continued to show up for this. And that's just how life goes. Same thing happens when you're going to the gym and you want to make a change in your health and your fitness. Same exact thing. So the two biggest takeaways from this episode are, 1, the small habits matter. Those choices stack up. How do you want things to stack? In which direction do you want things to grow? And 2, and this is the most important thing, this is why I sat down to create this episode today. Give yourself some credit because you deserve it. Give yourself some credit because you probably aren't giving yourself enough credit. If you are, congratulations. That's a really great relationship to have with yourself, to recognize and to be like, hey, high five, you're killing it, you're doing great, and I love you. And if you haven't been, it doesn't mean that you can't. So just make some time to sit down and reflect. And actually, as a matter of fact, I challenge you to, once you're done listening to this episode, whether tonight, whether later in the day, whether tomorrow in the morning when you wake up, Set 5 minutes aside to be present with yourself and recognize the growth that has occurred in your life. I've got to move my flowers because I love my flowers in my video, and I think it was just they were to the side. I have brought up this message in a few of my episodes, but you are exactly where you're meant to be. And for myself too, it's so important to recognize that. And when you're able to really believe and feel into those words that you are exactly where you're meant to be, you are able to take a deep breath, relax a little bit. You're able to live life and not be moving from such an urgent energy. And you can relax and still continue to show up, right? It's not relax and do nothing ever. It's relax and make the choice again to show up and choose to grow in the direction that you most want to grow. It's so easy to be mean to yourself, not give yourself any credit, to dismiss all of your efforts. That's so easy. And guess what? That is also boring. So let's be the version of ourselves who sees ourselves and gives us credit and shows us love and shows the version of us who's doing their best love. And yes, sometimes being harsh to yourself does get you to take action, but the more sustainable way that, at least in my life, that I've noticed for myself is when I am more kind, gentle, and encouraging, and when I choose to make things fun. Alrighty, that is my piece for today. Thank you so much again for being here with me. And if you are new to my community, welcome to my garden. I'm so grateful to have you here. And if you're a recurring listener, hello again. Thank you so much for your support. I love you. I hope you remember to give yourself credit because you're doing great. You really are doing great. And I hope you can see it. Have an absolutely incredible day, and I will see you next week on Valerie's Garden. Bye.